Welcome to the Mompreneur Nation podcast. You found your tribe for all things motherhood and entrepreneurship. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our podcast or vodcast, whatever you want to call it. I am here today with Cara Couvillion.
Hi.
She is an entrepreneur, mompreneur, and she's the owner of The Authentic, a clothing line, also the co-owner of the Couv Group. Pretty amazing next generation real estate. Like that, got it. Most importantly, she is the wife of Stephen Couvillion and mom to Ruby and Indy. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm so excited that you're here.
Yes.
So tell me a bit about you and the business.
So my name's Cara, as she said. I started The Authentic Clothing back in 2022. And it started really just because I was at home with my baby girl, Ruby. And as she said, my husband owns the Couv Group, which is a real estate group here in Baton Rouge. And while I helped him a lot and continue to do so, I wanted something of my own. And I felt like I've always been in the creative realm, and I've loved clothing. I've loved fashion and putting my own twist on certain things. And so I had this random idea to start an online boutique back in 2022, or actually 2021. And then kind of just started doing it and then fell in love with it. And then we launched in March of 2022. And it's been the most fun. It's been it's very stretching for me, very hard at times. Right now, currently on a break from it because we'll get into why. But when I first started it was, I told Stephen, I was like, this is so much fun, like so much fun. So I actually launched it the day I found out I was pregnant with our second child, same day. So it's kind of been a whirlwind since literally the day we launched. But again, it's so much fun. I love it. I love seeing people confident in the clothes that I pick out and loving the things that I pick out, especially moms. So yeah, it's been really fun, and I'm hoping to grow it and continue it in the future. But right now we're on a break. So
we're on a break. So let's talk quickly about that break.
Let's talk about it.
Let's get into that, because I think it's kind of important. So you find out that you're pregnant, same day you launch your business. I mean, not at all overwhelming in itself, right?
Not at all.
That's actually the beginning of the overwhelm. So walk us through that process of finding out you're pregnant and your visits and all the things.
Yeah. So found out I was pregnant back in March and everything was fine. I was sick as a dog, but I was totally fine. And I go in for my 20-week anatomy scan, and you have like nerves built up with your anatomy scans. Like it's kind of just like you hold your breath, you go in. But my firstborn, I think she's been to the doctor for like 4 ear infections in her life. Like she's been a healthy child, very blessed. And so I was a little worried, but second kid, I'm like, so we go in, and my OB was like, okay, well, I see something going on with her heart, but just come back in 4 weeks whenever it's a little bit more developed. She's like, I'm not really that worried. I was like, okay. The same thing happened for Ruby, because they're so tiny and they're in weird positions. So I really wasn't worried. So 4 weeks later, we go in, and Stephen was actually going to leave. He had to go to an appointment. And so we had the ultrasound, and he was like, hey, do you mind if I leave for the appointment? Because I've got to go. And I was like, yeah, no, that's totally fine. As he's walking out, my doctor's walking in, and she goes, you might want to come sit down. And then as soon as she said that, I was like, something's not right. So she walks in, she goes, hey, listen, I don't know what it is, but I'm not seeing the lower chambers of her heart. And it was a girl. We knew it was a girl by then. I'm not seeing the lower chambers of her heart. So I'm going to send you to maternal fetal medicine, which is basically the specialist at my hospital.
Is that how you found out that she was a girl?
No, we found out with Laura.
Okay. Oh, that's right.
Yes. Tag
Gender reveal.
3D ultrasound. She's phenomenal.
Yep.
Go see her if you're pregnant.
Absolutely.
But anyway, so 4 weeks later, we go into maternal fetal medicine. And if you've ever had any kind of like pregnancy, I don't want to say pregnancy scares, but just pregnancy like things you need to get checked out further with maternal fetal medicine, you know how, like, I really wish they would update their facilities there, because you walk in and you're like, this looks like it's stuck back in the 70s. And it's sterile. It's just a non-welcoming environment. So you're already like nervous. Then you walk into this environment where you're like, ugh. Anyway, so we get there and the doctor was very much, he immediately saw it. He checked out her entire body. And he said, yeah, I do see a defect here, and it's called an AV canal defect. And so we're sobbing, crying. And as he says this, he says, but I want you to know, with this defect, there is a 30% chance that she could have Down syndrome, which that was never on our radar, of course. And so when he said those words, it was kind of like, you know, whenever somebody tells you something and everything else goes black and you kind of have like tunnel vision and like tunnel hearing to where it's like, you can't really hear anything else he's saying. Like, I remember nurses coming in after and talking to me, but I literally have no idea. I don't remember anything. Yeah. Like, literally, I don't remember anything. So he was like, I would highly suggest getting genetic testing to see and confirm, you know, what's going on here. So at first he wanted me to get an amniocentesis, but because I was already almost 26 weeks, it was highly risky because it could have put Indy's life at jeopardy. So we just decided to go with blood tests, of course. And so we did that, and we ended up going to see a cardiologist, I think 2 weeks later. And we still hadn't heard genetic testing back. It took forever. It took like 10 days for it to come back. And so while we're at the cardiologist, he was the first person to kind of like put my mind at ease. And we did an ultrasound, and he was like, yep, I got everything I need to see. And I just like, I started crying again. And he looked at me and he goes, sweetheart, it's going to be okay. Like, she's going to be okay. And that was the first time that I found out like good news about her, and the first time someone gave me like actual peace and hope and confidence in her life. And so I still, to this day, Dr. Hickson in Baton Rouge, like, I am like, you have no idea the importance of your job and your personality, because as a mother, you were the first person to be like, she's going to have a great life and she's going to be okay. Like, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be okay. So, anyway, that same day, of course, we leave there feeling like, you know what, it's going to be hard. We're going to have a surgery. Cause with her defect, he told us she could need to come out of the womb needing surgery a month out, or she could come out of the womb needing a surgery 2 years out. It's kind of just how Indy grows and how her body develops. It's up to her. But we felt like, he told us, he's like, it's a very common defect. Like, it's okay. Like, whatever. So we left there with like, it's going to be hard, but it's going to be okay. We have hope. And then I was sitting at my dining room table where the Authentic is set up and working. And Stephen had gone back to work, and I get a call from maternal fetal medicine saying, it was the doctor that did the ultrasound. He said, hey, I'm sorry to say, but your blood test came back with a 50% chance of her having Down syndrome. And I was like, okay. And he goes, do you have any questions? And I was like, so many. A few. Actually, now that you mention it, so many questions. And I was like, but at the time I was like, no. And then he's like, okay, well, have a good day. And I was like, okay. And I hang up the phone. Ruby, our then 2-year-old or 3-year-old, was watching TV. I'm like in such a wreck that I don't know like how to work my phone to call Steven. And I call him and I'm like, hey, our blood test came back. And he could tell by obviously me freaking out. He was like, I'm on my way. So he comes home and we sit on the couch And I don't know if we've ever been at a lower place in our life, to be honest with you, because when you get told news like that without knowing what the future is now, you kind of just think, well, this is it.
Yeah.
So we call my OB and I said, hey, can you tell me if you've seen anything on ultrasounds? Because you gave me a 50% chance, but like there's a 50 other percent chance here that like she could not. And she was like, well, actually with her heart defect confirmation, it actually brings it up to about 90% that she has Down syndrome. And that's when I saw Steven break more than I ever have before. Because it was basically like, okay, like I said, like, okay, well, our life is over. And obviously we didn't know, now. But we kind of just sat there and didn't really know what to do. I really can't tell you what we did the rest of the night. I don't remember anything from that night. So anyway, after that, we went to ultrasounds and doctor's appointments and so many different opinions. I got told that she would have a 50% chance of survival after birth because of her heart defect and Down syndrome, which I now know is completely not true. But like it was a very traumatic pregnancy, and then birth. So at 36 weeks, or 35 weeks, I started feeling cramps and, I was laying in bed and I was like, I don't feel right, but like I'm pregnant. And so you don't feel right ever. And my mom was out of town. She was in Florida. Steven's mom was out of town.
Yep.
And Steven took Ruby to the park so I could rest. And I started bleeding. And I called my mom and she's like, why don't you just go to the doctor? Because if you're in labor, like I need to come home. So does Miss Ann. And so you need to go to the doctor to see what's going on. And so as I'm getting up to go to the doctor, all three of us, me, Steven, and Ruby, get in the car. And we go to the hospital. And as I'm moving around, I'm like, okay, this is labor. Like the contractions are real.
Yeah,
And this is labor. And so I get to the hospital. Steven and Ruby are in the waiting room. That was at 2:50 p.m. on a Sunday.
I remember that.
I called Megan and I was just like, I'm in labor. Did I say that?
Yeah, you did. You did, because I was on my patio playing with the kids, and then you're like, "Hey, I'm in labor." I'm like, "Wait." I originally thought like, "Dang, I could have swore she told me November, but maybe I'm off."
Nope.
Maybe I'm wrong.
You were not off, boo. You were not off. Yeah. So I get back in the room by myself because Steven obviously has to stay with Ruby, and we call some of our friends that live close by to come and get Ruby. And so Steven brings one of our friends home so he can come home with Ruby. And they check me and she was like, who's your OB, sweetie? And I was like, how far dilated am I? She's like, you're 6 centimeters and you're having this baby today. And I'm like, I'm only 35 and 5. And they told me the last thing they wanted for Indy was for her to come premature because of her heart. The bigger, the better for her. Like she needs to come out full term. So that was the worst case scenario basically happening. They also, because of her heart defect, they wanted me to deliver in the OR. And they needed to have NICU teams ready because I was told that she possibly would need resuscitation when she's born. So, but none of that was prepared because, like, she decided to come early. Yeah. So, anyway, Steven races back home. They give me a steroid shot to help develop the lungs? I can't remember. And they're racing me up to labor and delivery. When I got up there, they checked me again and I'm in at 8. And granted, that's only like a 15-minute difference. So I'm like screaming for an epidural. And the nurse is trying to get NICU teams ready to go, trying to get NICU teams in the room. No one's listening about how fast she is coming. And as I'm getting the epidural, I was like, I need a push. And so the doctor that was on call checks me as anesthesia is like still in the room, and I'm at a 10. That was like 10 minutes the next time, like after the 8. So I was dilating like, I don't know, a centimeter every 5 minutes or so. Like
Thank
it was
God you went to the hospital.
I could have had that baby in the car with Ruby, or at the house with Ruby. I keep thinking about that. I'm like, how traumatic, bless her heart. Like it was already traumatic, like going from 30 minutes being at the park, then to mom at the hospital. Like I can't, yeah. Anyway, thank God I went to the hospital. So anyway, I'm at a 10, so they are like busting out the doors trying to get to the OR. The nurse in front of me is sprinting. They're pushing me, sprinting me down the hallway. Steven's on the phone with my family. Again, none of our family's in town. Like no one.
I remember.
And Steven is like sprinting behind us. We get in the OR and I'm like, where's Steve? Like, I just need to focus. I need my eyes to connect with my husband, because right now it's like, I need like a source of like tangible peace. And so, oh gosh, sorry. So we get in the OR and, I pushed like twice and she was out. She came out screaming, which I was told it wasn't going to happen. And she was so healthy. Like she looked so good. And the nurse, or the doctor that delivered her, still don't know who it was. She's like, hey, I don't think she has Down syndrome. She didn't have any of the characteristics of it. And so how they had to do it was they took Indy, they let me see her, and then they took her immediately to a back room to, look at her and see what was going on. So Steven went with her. So in my mind, in those 5 minutes that she was away, I didn't think she had Down syndrome, because this doctor just told me, I don't think she has Down syndrome. Like I didn't see any of the characteristics. And I'm like, okay, she has a heart defect, but we can manage, whatever.
Yeah.
And so as I'm getting cleaned up, Steven comes in and I'm like, hey, the doctor said she doesn't have Down syndrome. Is that right? And he had already been in the room with the NICU team, the doctor, and he knew. And he still tells me this is one of his biggest regrets, because he didn't tell me. He just said, yeah, babe. And he told me, he's like, but I didn't have the heart to break that news to you and bring, like, I hate saying like the worst news of our lives, because she's the best. Like now, like we know what joy she is now, but like he's like, I didn't want to be that person for you. And like I hate that for him, because he was just trying to protect me, and he was just trying to keep me as calm and as collected as possible. And so he went back to be with Indy. I'm still laying there, and the NICU doctor comes in and he's like, hey, she is one sassy little girl, which we very much know now. And he goes, but I do think she has trisomy 21. And at that point, Steven grabbed my face and he goes, look at me. He goes, doctor's still talking. He goes, we are going to have a wonderful life. He goes, I don't care what it looks like. He's like, it's going to be wonderful no matter what. Mm-hmm. And so I don't remember him saying any of that. That's what he told me. He said, because again, tunnel vision, like everything like black. But that's what he told me. He said to me. And so after that, he was like, do you want to meet her? Do you want to hold her? And I was like, yeah, I'd love to. And so they pushed me into the room where she was, and she wasn't on oxygen. Like she was just a baby, and she was perfect. She was so tiny. But as soon as I saw her, I saw Down syndrome, and it scared the living mess out of me. Like it was terrifying. And so I held her, and it was the weirdest moment, because in one side it was my baby and a gift from the Lord, perfectly crafted by his hand. And then on the other hand, I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like, how are we supposed to do this? And it was just the oddest, most like peaceful, because we had been in this turmoil for 8 months. Like oddest moment ever. So they take her up to NICU. I go back to my room to recovery, and my dad is there in my room. And Stephen called him beforehand to tell him so I wouldn't have to. And he told me, he goes, "Hey, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do it as a family, and we've got y'all." And so we sat there, and then your brother walked in, bless his soul. Probably most awkward thing for him in his life. Okay, like I am still numb from an epidural. My dad is there. He brings Krispy Kreme donuts, and he's just sitting there. But it was the best. Like it's oddly what I needed. Like because Stephen was with Indy in the NICU, and like it was the most right. Like we look back, and I'm like, gosh. After Ruby, we had my mom, Stephen's sister, like all the women,
Everybody.
you know. And then for Indy, it was like my dad and Josh Howard. It was great, though. It was great. It was. I hope it wasn't too awkward for Josh.
He told me that he's like, "Well, I'm just gonna go up there." I was like, "Well, I don't know exactly what they want right now or what." He's like, "It's okay. I'm just gonna go up there."
We didn't know either, so
okay.
It was perfect. Whatever he did. So yeah, that was kind of the start of our journey with Indy Joy. She was in NICU for 24 days. And looking back on it, we have been so blessed with her journey because every hospital visit, every hospital stay and thing we've been through, she has just knocked it out of the park consecutively. And like she, like even in NICU, like she just chugged along, and like she was off room air within she was off oxygen within 48 hours. She was drinking bottles like a champ from the jump. I told Megan, I think I told you this, she was a better nurser like than Ruby was, but because of her little heart defect, we couldn't breastfeed because she just gets so tired. And so she's just been a little rock star from the jump. And so she is a year old now, and the chunkiest, sassiest little thing you've ever seen in your life. And yeah, that's our Indy Joy.
So that first year, because when you guys went through this, I mean, obviously she's absolute perfection. And yes. Honestly, I remember before you had her, somewhere in between after that, the maternal call where you heard about Down syndrome. And I remember we had a group date to the golf place. Top golf.
Yes.
We went Top golf.
Yes.
And we psyched the boys out and bought them shirts and didn't tell them they were all matching. That was awesome.
Great time.
After when we were leaving, and this is before before you'd given her name, and we got outside and we were like, let's pray over her. Right. Yeah. And we all laid hands on your belly and prayed for her. And Sarah put one of her Sarah prayers.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. Yes.
And Sarah just said in that moment, she's like, I sense joy.
Yeah.
I feel joy, she said. Yeah. I was like, oh my God, I feel that too. You know, like I just feel joy. And then I think it was at that moment you're like, that was going to be her name, her middle name. Like you just you could sense it and you could feel it even just touching you even then. And now to like look back and to see her pictures and her smiles and just like, she just exudes joy and joy. But when you first had her, obviously that wasn't the fear that comes over your mind of what is this going to be like? What is this going to look like? And people can look and say, well, this is a wonderful baby. But if you're going to be real, like you go through a process of sort of mourning, right? Because you thought this was going to be my life. My life was going to look like this. Your life is far better. But there is a certain area of dying to or grieving what you thought was going to happen, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I feel like I still go through, even a year out, times of like grieving certain things. And I think it's like it's seasonal. Like, for instance, it's like at her first birthday party, even though we just did just our parents and kept it very small. But it's like when we go to other birthday parties and certain kids are doing certain things and they're the same age. And it's like, I feel like my entire life with her, I'll be grieving certain things because it wasn't what I thought it was going to look like. Now, that's not a bad thing. It just looks different. And so, but whenever we first had her, yeah, I think that was the hardest grieving portion of it because it was like, it changed the trajectory of our entire life. And so, again, not in a bad way, just a different way. And so, it was a hard first couple of months in the beginning there because we were also worried about her heart. And so it was a hard couple of months trying to grieve what we thought was going to be, but also have joy that she's here and that she's healthy and that she's okay. And that was the first time in my life that I experienced joy and grief can go hand in hand.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful thing at the same time. And so, but yeah, I definitely had to grieve a lot of things in the beginning. And I think becoming okay with grieving certain things in the future too, I think is something that I've learned how to kind of cope with, because I know that there's going to be certain things like, will she be able to drive? I don't know. But like, that's something that you kind of like look forward to, or maybe not look forward to with your kids, but like, it's another milestone in their life. Yeah. Well, Indy may not have that. Will she go to college? Will she do certain things? I don't know. But like, learning to be like, okay, we grieve that, we move on. It may look different for her, but that's okay, you know?
Okay.
So, but yeah, grieving that in the beginning was very, very, very tough. But I think learning to know that, like, just because it may look not like we were thinking doesn't mean it's a bad thing. It just looks different. So,
yeah. I think something really important that you say that's important for everyone to understand. When we live in such a this or that world, right?
Right.
But two things can coexist at the same time. Two things can be truth at the same time. It's okay to be heartbroken and also joyful. It's okay to like have a bit of regret here but also be grateful. Like these things are okay. And it's important for people to understand you can feel your feels. You are allowed to feel your feelings.
Yeah. Especially as a mom. Yeah. Especially as a mom, because I feel like even if you have like typical children and they're healthy and they're thriving or whatever, and like, and you're like struggling in certain areas, that doesn't make you an ungrateful mother. That doesn't make you a wrong or terrible mother for feeling certain feelings about like, hey, I'm struggling because I don't feel like I'm who I used to be or whatever. Like, it's okay to be sad and be happy that what you have in the same time. Like it's okay. So,
it's okay to feel it. And the truth is we're going to feel it regardless to if we own it or not. You're just not, you're going to put a cap on how honest you are and how open you are. You will only then just hide feelings. And that's the worst thing that you can do. Just be real and just say, I'm really upset. I think you did a great job going through that too. And just being honest and just saying, this is how I feel. I was really concerned about that through this whole process, that you were going to try and smile.
Yeah. Megan would text me all the time, be like, hey, where are you at?
1 to 10.
I'm at like a 6 right now. She's like, okay, great. As long as you're not a 10, like I'm okay. I'm like, I know. Thank you for checking in. So thank you for that.
No, I'm there. But your first pregnancy, you talked about when you spoke at an event. Your first pregnancy, you went through a bout of postpartum depression.
Yeah.
Right. And so, talk to me a little bit about that and what that looks like and compared to this time, your second pregnancy.
Yeah. So with Ruby, I don't think I realized that I went through postpartum depression / anxiety until probably about a year or two after having her. I had no experience with it, of course. So like I couldn't recognize it when it was happening. Mm-hmm. And I think during that season, Steven's business was really taking off. So he was gone a majority of the day. COVID hit when she was 6 months old. And so I spent a lot of her baby infant stage isolated and alone. And I don't want to say it led me to a dark place, but I felt kind of just alone and very much like stuck in a situation where I felt like I'm not who I used to be, but I also don't know where my life as a mom is going, like as far as where I'm supposed to be. So I felt it was kind of stuck, and it just led me to a place of kind of losing myself in that process. And like I said, it wasn't until Ruby was around 2 that I really started feeling like, okay, this is our new normal. Like, I'm a mom. That doesn't mean that's my entire identity. But I think surrounding myself with people and friends that kind of went through the same thing and could identify it too, helped me a ton. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, whenever Ruby turned 3 is when I started The Authentic. And that really helped me kind of shift out of that and help me find a new groove and, like, again, be okay with being a mom and that journey, but also having something of my own that I could, like, okay, this is Cara. This is, outside of being Ruby's mom and Steven's wife too. So, yes. But yeah. And then as far as with Indy, it was kind of to the 10th degree almost. Yeah. Because when she was born, of course we had to grieve this whole new life that we were going through and gonna take on. But also she had a heart defect, and we knew she was going to have open heart surgery at 6 months old. And so it was a whole new level. Like, I tell people all the time, I didn't know anxiety really until Indy was born. And, like, I thought I had anxiety when Ruby was born, but, like, I didn't know, like, I truly didn't know what anxiety was until Indy was born. So, that was a whole new level and something I'm still battling with today, because this whole journey with her is totally new. And, like, no one gives you a playbook for it. No one gives you here's how to do it. Here's what, and so, with Indy, it's been, and still is, very a daily thing I have to walk through with her. Something that we work through in therapy is, every day I have to just surrender my kids to the Lord, because ultimately they are not mine. They're a gift from Him for a temporary purpose, for a temporary time, and I can't control much at all when it comes to them. And so, I literally every day I'm like, Lord, they're yours. You can protect them more than I ever could. Yeah. And this anxiety, this fear, and even depression, I surrender it to you, because it's like, what am I going to do with it? Like. So I think with Indy, it's the postpartum depression and anxiety has just kind of been taken to a whole new level with her, but hers is more out of a place of fear, and not really knowing how to navigate certain things. But as, like, surrendering her and surrendering Ruby on a daily basis has helped me so much, and helped me tremendously to know that, like, I can't, like, this is so far out of my control. Like, there's so much peace knowing that, like, I can't do anything. Like, I can feed them. I can make sure, like, I take care of them, but what happens in the future is out of my control. I can't do anything. I cannot do anything. So that has helped me tremendously this time. Yeah.
We've both known the Lord a long time, mm-hmm. And you can say, I trust God. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Everything. But when you become a mom, mm-hmm. there is just a different level of I trust God, because when you look at it, when you think about, like, your finances, and I'm not saying it's not tough to trust God with finances, because it is, right? But if I want to like say, you know what, I'm going to take things into my own hands. I'm going to run down the street. I'm going to go get a job, or I'm going to get some stuff in my house and sell it. I can somewhat still have somewhat control, right?
Yeah.
Or even
Right.
if like I've got a cold or something, I can go get some medicine. I can control it. Thank you,
Yeah.
God, for healing my cold. But I also did something. But when it
Right.
comes to like your children,
Right.
when you are actually your child is sick, or there's an issue with your child, or you're sending your child off somewhere, like there is nothing that you can do. There is
No.
nothing, there's no ounce of control that you can have. There's nothing that you can add to it. And that
Yeah.
level of vulnerability is just,
Okay.
it
And truly, like,
refreshes.
and like I felt that in such a tangible way on the day of her surgery, because
Yeah.
I physically handed her over to strangers, and they were taking her to stop her heart and fix it. And there was literally, I was sitting in a hotel room, just sitting there while they're working on my baby, and I'm like, this, like, it is so far out of my control. All I can do is like, it is trust, obviously, but like it's just, we have no control. Someone told me the other day, and like, it's kind of sad, but she said one of her friends had a baby, her first, and her dad walked in the room to meet the baby after the baby was born. And he looked at her and he goes, honey, I'm so excited for you, but I'm also very sad. And she was like, what? And she goes, because today is the day that you never stop worrying. And I was like, okay, well, that's so true though. Like, it's so
Never.
true about your kids. And it's like, no matter how much trust I feel, it's like, I still, as a mother, like, my heart aches for my kids sometimes, because it's like, I just worry so much, So yeah. Yeah.
You never. I remember the day of Josh's accident. I remember and I have trackers on everybody,
Yes.
including you.
Yeah. 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 I'm thankful for it, thankful.
See, exactly. You're not going to be my friend and get abducted. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to
Yeah,
find
exactly.
you. But
Exactly.
anyway,
They don't want me. I'm
um,
crazy.
Josh, Josh is on it too. Was on it at that point, and he got in the accident. And I remember the toughest part about the accident and the situation was knowing that there was not one thing that I could have done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing. I couldn't have
Yeah.
stopped it. I couldn't have
Yeah.
tracked him and found him. There was nothing that I could have done to
Yeah.
stop the situation, to help a situation. Nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was the most gut-wrenching level of vulnerability,
Yeah.
especially for people like us, type A people who like to be in control.
Yes.
It was so tough, but it was
Yes.
also beautiful to know that I wasn't in control.
I was
Because
about to say that, because like it gives you, like, in the same hand, an odd amount of peace to be
yes,
like, well, there's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do.
you look, you said you were going to do this. You
Right.
said you'd never leave us and forsake us. You said it's kind of like
Right.
the wife whenever the husband says they're going to do something. You said it.
You said
You you said this is, we dash our foot against a stone that you're going to.
Right.
You said these
Right.
things. So
Yeah.
there we go. Just
Yeah.
you step up. And it's like, I love that, because we have the power of his word and we can hold him to it, and and say, God, this is what you said you were going to do. You
Right.
said
Right.
you are a man that you cannot lie. Even if you
Right.
wanted to do it and had an off day one day, you aren't
Right.
even capable of it. So we
Yeah.
can stand on that, and we can stand on his promises and know that, like,
Yeah.
when our kids are away from us, you said you love them even more than our minds can comprehend,
Right.
which is clearly crazy because I can't comprehend.
Crazy. Right. Right.
Nobody loves them kids more than me,
Right.
but
Right.
he does.
Yeah.
And we can trust in that, and we can know that when you hand your baby off to strangers to stop their heart, that he's
Yeah.
in the room.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's
100%.
right there. I'm about to bust down the
100%.
song.
100%.
Yeah. He's there. When they're at school right now, he's
Yeah.
there. When Ruby's at school, like, he's still there.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful
Yeah.
piece. It can be overwhelming, but it's on us to constantly remind ourselves of we aren't in control, and that's okay.
Right.
It's okay.
Right.
It's
And
so
that's with Indy's journey that we've been on. And even in the future, like, I don't know what her future is going to look like. I don't know what Ruby's future is going to look like. But like, I know that I serve a God who like is going to take care of us. And when I was pregnant, I kept getting a word from several different people, completely unrelated. And they would say like, hey, like, I don't know your situation, but like, I just keep hearing it's good. And like, that's what I've held on to this entire time. And even for her entire life, like, I don't know what it's going to be, but I know that because I serve a faithful God and because I put my faith and my trust in him, I know it's going to be good. Like, no matter what it looks like, I know it's going to be good. And so that's what I've held on to for so long with Indy and with Ruby.
You have to. It's like,
Yeah.
we've had this conversation before. I don't know how people go through life without Jesus. I honestly, I don't know.
I know.
I don't know how you do it. Like, if you're watching this
Yeah.
right now, you got to have Jesus. You got to. You got
need them.
to.
I promise.
I'm telling you, all the medication in the world is not.
Yes.
It's not the same. It does not compare. It
Yep.
helps.
It helps. It does help. Thank you, Jesus, thank you, Lord.
We're Christian drug heads. Thank you, Lord, for that meds. But it's not the same. It is not the same. Like, you just gotta have Jesus. You gotta just call on him. And I love that. I love watching y'all's journey. And just
we are a part of our journey. So yes.
Oh, I love being a part of this beautiful story and this beautiful journey. And I mean, I love that God brought us together because we've been friends for a long time, but it doesn't seem like friends. It's more than friends, you know, but I'm not going to show up on your ancestor DNA chart, you know, like your tree, but it's like, it's family.
Pretty close.
Right.
Yeah.
It's that, like, we're not going to share an organ or anything, but it's essentially family. But I mean, I love that. I love for y'all. I love how Ruby loved her sister. It's just,
oh my God, they're best friends. They are best friends. And Indy's like active now and moving around. And so it's like, now I'll find them together, like laying on the floor or sitting up playing with toys. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, Ruby was designed to be Indy's sister. Like, I can see like her personality, her craziness. Like, it is perfectly designed for Indy. And it's like, it's just wild seeing that and how God orchestrated, like, how Ruby didn't come after Indy, you know, like how Ruby came first and then Indy. And it's like, it's just so orchestrated by God. And it's
almost
incredible.
Like he knew what he was doing. You know what I mean? You ever had
so like, weird, right? Like, gosh, how did he know?
Did you know what you were doing? Did you? Oh my gosh. It's almost like you just planned this yourself.
Right. So odd. So odd.
But that's like where he brings beauty for ashes, you know, because in your mind, you had already pictured this relationship with your girls and this sister relationship was going to look like this, you know, but the whole time is he's already planned exactly, given Ruby everything she needs to be the sister to Indy. And I mean,
100%.
it's just, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Yeah. So Indy girl's doing great though. She is rocking and rolling and crushing her little milestones whenever she wants to and loving life. Yeah, whenever she wants, because it's all up to her. Lord bless us. All of her therapists are like, y'all are got your hands full. I'm like, yeah, I know. Thank you. Appreciate that.
She's full of passion.
Yeah, full of passion. Full of passion.
So tell everyone how they can get in touch with you. Where's the Authentic at? What can we expect?
Like I said, Indy's in therapy right now, sometimes 4 days a week. And so by the time I'm done with therapy with her, pick up Ruby from school, the amount of energy I just know right now is supposed to be going to my girls, like, full-heartedly. And I'm blessed enough to not have to work. And so Steven works so incredibly hard for our family, and we're so blessed that I don't have to run the Authentic. And so right now I know it's a season of just pouring into my girls, and it makes me sad because joy and grief can go at the same hand in hand.
Yes, they can. Yes, they can.
It makes me sad because I love the Authentic so much. I just know for my mental sanity and for my girls running it right now, it's not going to work because the amount of energy and time that I have to pour into Indy and Ruby right now. And so right now you can still buy everything online. If you order something, I'll still send it out, of course, but buying new clothing, because in retail it's fast. So if I'm not producing things quickly, I'm kind of just going to get overshadowed by other boutiques because it moves so fast. So you can still order everything. Authentic.clothing is my website. Authentic Clothing on Instagram. And yeah, you can still order everything. It's just, they ain't nothing new right now, so
Ain't nothing new.
one day we're gonna get back there. We will.
It's a season. It's a season.
Yes, just a season. Just a
I
season.
love that. I love that. That's what being a mompreneur is. It's just, it's still being the boss that you are, but it's also prioritizing your family, which is your first ministry.
Yeah, absolutely. So
it's a beautiful thing.
They are taking my time, but they are rightfully so supposed to be taking my time right now. So
they are.
We will get back the authentic. I will bring it back full swing one day. It's just not right now.
It's just never know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Two things can exist.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, Cara, thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you so much for your time. If you could think of anything to say to a mom right now who might be going through what you were going through, what would you tell them?
Gosh, I just want to sob right now. I would say, first off, congratulations, because I didn't get that. Your baby is going to bring you so much joy and so much fulfillment in life and a perspective that you didn't even know that you needed. And even just, but also just know that it's going to be better than it is right now. It will get so much better and so much just, you'll be able to breathe. That was actually my word for this year is breathe, because last year I didn't. And so, it will get so much better than it is right now. And luckily, if you're listening in Baton Rouge, we have a wonderful community here in Baton Rouge, for a Down syndrome awareness group here that will literally surround you and engulf you in love. And that has helped me tremendously of being part of a community that understands what we're going through. So, yeah.
Yes. I love that. That. And grab Jesus. Grab him. Please grab him.
Hold on to him. Just hold on to him. Yeah.
Please grab him and just squeeze. Just squeeze.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Cara. Thank you for sharing with us. Thank you for your story. And thank you, God, for all the wonderful things that you have done in their life and continue to do in their lives. Love it.
Yes.
I'm going to put all the information right on the screen if you want to get in touch with Cara, if you want to chat with her, talk with her, follow her, all the things. So
all the things.
Thank you.
Megan. It was such an honor. I love you so much.
I love you. Bye, everyone.
Bye, y'all.